Oh man, these anti-AI cases, the crap just seems to keep coming. Every time I think there's going to be a lull because we're in discovery or we're waiting for an appeal, something else happens in a different one. And this time we're back over at New York Times v. OpenAI. And if you remember, this is the one where they got the judge to destroy everyone's privacy because you give ChatGPT your, deepest, darkest thoughts, your most private data to ask it what to do or for therapeutic purposes or whatever. And then you delete the conversation and you want it to get deleted. Or you have temporary mode on so it won't stick around. This is the court where they say, nope, OpenAI can't delete it. They have to retain it anyway. You can't delete stuff because that means you're doing something wrong. That's going to be irony number one. Irony number two is just about what these AI cases are about to begin with, which is that there's nothing transformative about AI and they just steal from journalists and writers and everyone else to produce their outputs. So yeah, this is something else that's apparently been going on and we don't have documentation about it until now, because now we've got a filing from OpenAI that says, The Times, while asserting in this litigation that OpenAI's models are non-transformative and harmful, used those same tools internally to advance its journalism and subscription strategies. They've been using ChatGPT in-house. They've been using it for journalism. They've been using it for subscriptions. So does that mean that the Times has been stealing from journalists and writers? Is that what they've been doing all this time? Or maybe, just maybe, this is a highly transformative technology that's used for all sorts of things. It's a weird one and it gets weirder. Yet, the Times permanently destroyed all logs of this usage from at least November 2023 to March 2024 during a critical period, including the months leading up to and after the Times filed suit. This destruction occurred long after the Times was obligated to preserve this data. Moreover, its Rule 30b-6 witness provided misleading statements, they lied, and failed to disclose the data deletion, despite the deposition occurring 6 months after the Times now admits it discovered it failed to retain the logs. The Times further represented to the court that it was complying with its preservation obligations at the same time that it was actively concealing the data's destruction. So what do they got to say for themselves? The Times now seeks to excuse its data destruction by claiming that it has consistently maintained that the data was irrelevant. They're not denying they did it. They're not denying they used ChatGPT. They're not denying they deleted the data. It's just irrelevant. You don't get to ask us about that. Hypocrisy, thy name is New York Times. And we've also got a couple of additional comments from Microsoft. Use of defendants' generative AI tools is a proper area of discovery to assess the substantial non-infringing uses of the accused technology. This data is also relevant to whether defendants' generative AI tools used for pro-copyright purposes like research and news reporting are transformative under the first fair use factor. Their own behavior confirms it. This alone should cause this case to go away. And if it were anywhere but the SDNY, that may be what would have happened. But we know how that district is. We know how this judge is. And also just something else that's been going on that I didn't really cover. But the Times and the other plaintiffs, altogether they call them the news plaintiffs. At the same time, they want to way increase the scope to include Microsoft Copilot, as well as earlier and later versions of ChatGPT. And the time to do that is long past. Because it's not just for Copilot, it's for versions of ChatGPT that are much older than what they initially said, and also more recent versions after they filed. So yeah, basically it's not just, we want all of your information. We also want all of your information that's way outside the scope of the trial, and we also want the information of thousands, millions of ChatGPT users who have nothing to do with this case, Oh, but we don't have to give you anything. Yes, we've been using it for a transformative purpose, and that totally confirms everything you've said, but that's irrelevant. AI is still stealing somehow, except when we do it, I guess. I don't know. It's just one more layer, actually more like 3 more layers of hypocrisy on top of all of the rest we've seen. With, again, our First and Fourth Amendments hanging in the balance here. I will keep you updated. I am the only YouTuber who is, so please, comments for the comment god, shares for the share throne, like, subscribe, the bell, and of course, donate.bogosity.tv. Keep me doing this. And yes, I also want to do videos on lots of other things too, and I need to be able to clear up the time to do that. The more you give, the more I can do that, especially if you become a regular supporter at Patreon, Subscribestar, or Discord. Get these videos early and ad-free. So thank you so very much for watching. Until next time, stay strong and be free.